Welcome, travelers, to another episode of Hitchhiker's Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamy, E&M for short. I am your host, Ike, known as Hito in certain kinky circles, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 21. Happy to have you. And I figured this week I wanted to talk about communication. The title of this episode, I came up with Can We Talk for a Minute when I was pre planning this, because one thing that is always talked about in all forms of relationship, especially when it comes to E&M, is communication. Communication is everything in all aspects of life. And it's just as important with non monogamous relationships because it is easy to get disconnected from various partners if you do have multiple partners. It can get complicated in swinging circles. If you're swinging, like you might miscommunicate with your partner, will lead to problems. There's just a whole lot that comes with communication that could honestly be missed. So I did want to go ahead and talk about this a bit. As far as what's been going on with me, been trying to keep up with recording my other podcast. I started a new job. I think I said it last time when I got a job about a month ago, so that's been going pretty good. I'm about to be an owl because I will be working the graveyard shift for the job, but it's Monday through Thursday. That means weekend shenanigans are afoot. Uh, but yeah, overall, I've just been doing good, just trying to make sure I'm back on my feet after losing my job last year and planning trips, just out here trying to have fun because the way I see it is I was not put on this earth to work and break my back until 60 and then I get to enjoy life. I feel like I was put on this earth to just go ahead, spread knowledge when I can and have fun when I can and work as little as possible to get everything I need. Because again, I would never be a billionaire because I would just give all that shit away. Like, I'm not out here trying to be money hungry. I'm just trying to get just enough to live a good life and maybe be comfortable in retirement if need be. I have a performance coming up in June for a private event, which should be fun. I do need to order this massage table because a flogging bench, that'll just be too much to try to get happening too quick. So let's just go ahead and see if we can get this massage table in on time so I can do this little impact performance. Some kinky stuff, you know. Beyond that, just living life. I do celebrated my anchor partner's birthday a little while back, and we like just did some date stuff. Losing connection with another partner, but it's kind of weird only because like she's going through some personal growth things, personal learning, personal figuring out, and I don't want to interrupt that. Like I don't want to be greedy and selfish and say, "Hey, I want some time with you," while she's trying to figure out her world. So what I do is I just give the space, and if this is like how that potential dynamic ends, that's how it ends. But I don't want to be a burden on someone just because I want their attention. I'd rather a person just give what they can give and not force any more because that'll just stress them out. And who am I to be someone to stress you out? But no, beyond that, just that's just pretty much what I've been going through. And I think that's what sparked the whole communication thing because I was like thinking about it in regards to keeping in touch. The way my ADHD is set up, I sometimes suck at keeping in touch because I would reply to you and it might be if I like open your message and don't reply in the immediate, once that like red dot is gone on the phone, I kind of blank out and forget like, did I reply to this person? Did I send a message? And I go and look like, wonder what they've been up to. It's like, oh, okay, they sent me something I never replied. Okay, I see what happened here. Yeah, so I've been doing so much better at that since I've been diagnosed with ADHD. I've been a lot better at trying to be proactive though, because I don't like people. I don't like wasting people's time. Same way I don't like my time wasting. I feel like if I'm not replying to you in a timely manner, I'm wasting your time. So I feel hella guilty. Um, but it just when it comes to communication, it's so I even wrote this down because this was a spontaneous thought I had a little while ago. Because one thing with communication we typically forget is that communication styles are varied. There is no one set way of communication. Like when we talk about, oh, communicate, 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 that's how you keep a strong relationship. Cool. How do you communicate? What kind of communications are you given? Like, where and when can this communication happen? Because some people might be working busy schedules and can't have that one on one time in a timely fashion to communicate. So, it's just, and then the words used while communicating can be varied. Like, for example, like I was saying, like this thought I had was like the point of human language is to have a method to communicate with each other. The problem that typically happens, especially with a language as fluid as English, is that one word can mean so many things to different people. Now, I'm in various group chats, be it hard to solve, horrible decisions, etc. And in this one group chat, someone was talking about how, hey, is there any lifestyle events going on? Like poly events. So in my head, I'm thinking, what do you mean by poly events? Because polyamorous relationships are polyamorous relationships. They're not event dictated. If anything, are you talking about swinger events? Are you talking about like open relationships, non-monogamous events? So I asked, okay, what's poly to you? And he couldn't give a clear definition. Par, most of the fault lies on him for not knowing what he's talking about. You can't just throw the word poly around because it could be polygamy, which is polygyny or polyandry. It could be polyamorous. It could be polyfidelity. Like just saying poly to mean God knows what is a little bit weird. So it's just communication's hard. Especially like, and this is not even talking about like easy conversations, just simply communicating the bare minimum is very hard. And so, like in relationships, just like in life, like there's certain aspects of communication that we really have to focus on. So one of them is how do we, like how how do you communicate, how your partner receives communication, and how you receive communication from your partner. It's like a telephone. Like you speaking to the receiver, that signal, electric signal is set to your partner, and they hear you, and then they respond, and that signal comes back to you. It's like that is like the baseline emphasis of what communication is about, and it can get tricky. I'm a person that I prefer text messages to calls, especially if the only reason why I actually do enjoy calls, but the problem with calls is people's times are very varied. Like not everyone's available at the same time. Like I could think to call you at noon, but the problem is you're at work. You could think to call me at 8. I might be driving doing deliveries or something. So I prefer calls, but it's just that the times are too varied for me to actually enjoy it. Especially if I'm like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while. My ADHD brain is thinking if I don't do this now, I will forget until maybe a couple days. Where like, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while. It's a vicious cycle, so I prefer text. It gets to me. I can see what you're saying. We can move along from there, but everyone's not like that. Some people require that phone call because that they aren't good with the whole voice thing. Like voices can vary when it comes to how people read a text. Like someone might read your text as if you're angry or disappointed when honestly you were just happy or neutral. Um, and then in turn, I gotta do my work to understand how like my partner likes to receive communication. If there's a certain way they like to receive harsh news or hard topics, I learn what that is so I can provide that to them so I'm not catching them off guard or triggering them to where they have to be defensive. If there's a way that they want to receive joyous news, you got to take that into account. I can't just dictate that this is how I give communication, thus that's how you're going to receive it. Because you're not going to like it if they do it on their end. Like, what if they like to write snail mail and therefore you're not going to get no notifications for a whole 5 days as a letter's trying to get to you? I have thought about doing that before, but I'm a very petty bitch. That's all I gotta say. Um, but yes, it's just with those three aspects: how I communicate, how my partner receives it, how I receive communication from my partner. It's honestly how I go about my current dynamic. My partner tends to get overstimulated at times, where and someone might have past trauma where if me saying a certain word that was used as a weapon back in the day, me trying to communicate in that fashion won't be helpful for them. Now, when I say like how are you receiving your partner's words, because I'm a very literal person. I'm someone that when I say something, there is no hidden meaning. Hidden meaning. It's hey, 1 plus 1 equals 2. That is what I'm saying. I have ran into a problem a couple of times where I say a thing instead of listening to what I'm saying, they would take it and flip it to whatever they assume I'm saying and then spit it back at me. And I'm I get a little lost in that because I feel I have a thing, middle child, I guess. Look, I'm number 3 out of 5. I'm like dead smack in the middle. So when I'm not being heard, it's kind of like a why are you not listening to me? It's and the only way I can disarm those kind of moments is to repeat back what they said I said, repeat what I said, and try to understand where was this disconnect, like where these additional words come from. And that's very important because if you are not listening to your partner, if you're listening to debate, if you're listening to be argumentative, if you're listening to honestly shut down what they're saying, then you're not really listening. You're not hearing what they're saying, and you need to figure out why you have such a defense mechanism built in for your partner, because that's not helpful. Like if this person is out here giving you a concern and your response is, "Hey, I guess that's your concern, but what about me?" That you should have brought that up beforehand. Like, why are you waiting until someone's spilling out their soul in order to rebuttal and say, "Hey, here are my problems too." Like, you got to give that off when you feel it, not when you feel like it's something that could be used to disarm your partner. And now, if you receive your partner's words as hostile, like if they send you a text, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be home early." If you read that and you feel like that is in a hostile tone or you feel negative about the wordings that's given, you gotta check that. You gotta figure out why that is the case. Like, why are you seeing your partner as someone that is threatening to you? Why do you feel like your partner's yelling at you in a text? Why do you feel like they're belittling you? Like, you gotta figure out where that's coming from because it could be from your childhood, it could be from work, it could be from friendships. But honestly, you're walking to the end of a relationship if that's how you operate, where you see your partner as the enemy, because that doesn't make sense. Partner and enemy should not be in the same sentence. Unless you're working in like a corporate job, then that's pretty much your everyday life. Now, I said this already. Like, are you actually listening, or are you listening to parts that you can use in a reply? Like, if I'm saying 1 plus 1 equals 2, and then the reply is like, but who says that one's gonna be what's gonna be added? What if it's 2 plus 1? Then it's not two. What was the point of that? Someone's talking to you about one thing and you make it about something different. Like, address the one thing first, then you can go ahead and include something else. But it's clear that you're not understanding what someone is saying if you feel a need to detract from their words. Like, that's poor communication. If you are, because then that person is already going to feel, oh, I'm not being heard. Guess what I'm gonna do if I'm not being heard? Ignore you and move on because my words don't matter. Whatever you feel is a lot better or more important, and I'm gonna just be like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna go ahead and move about my day, and then nothing gets done. Nothing's productive. I got another thing here. Essentially, like, how do you speak to your partners? And I do find that to be very important. Because some people are natural assholes. That's the best wording I can do, where it just sounds like they're condescending, sounds like they're belittling, and they're not even trying to. They are shocked when it's like, why you gotta be such an asshole? And they're like shocked, like, so I have a friend like that. He doesn't realize when he's being a dick. It's funny at this point, and it's not like a spectrum thing. It's just that he's just an asshole. Is likely from when he was growing up, his twin ass. He just be a dick sometimes. Great guy, love him to death. Sometimes he's just a dick, and sometimes that natural aspect about you can be received wrong by your partner, because you might be being sincere, honest, upfront, and everything. For them to receive it as like, yo, why you gotta be so mean? Why you gotta be this? And now realize like they're actually being genuine. Are you always yelling at certain times at your partner when it's like maybe you're just being passionate, or maybe you are mad and you are yelling? Like, you have to just kind of see how you actually talk to your partner, because again, if I'm yelling at my partner, all they're going to do is be defensive, because that's, that's that flight or fight response where either they're going to run or they're going to go ahead and go into full defense. Like, I don't know what else to do because this person's yelling at me. So be sure you check on how you actually speak to or at your partner. I advise, not speaking at your partner. Always try to make the conversation as open as possible, so that way things can get resolved and met. And I also have here, like, do you have a preferred way of being addressed? Like, are you comfortable with what they prefer? So, whenever I have like a certain thing that I need to point out, like, hey, I would prefer dishes done, like dishes put in this manner, for dirty dishes put in this manner, or hey, I would require this kind of thing, or I require that kind of thing. Now, when it comes to criticism, I have had a partner where they are a bit abrasive to criticism. Don't know where that came from. Could be work, could be family. I don't know. But criticism's got to happen. Like, if something's wrong, I'm not going to just sit here and let it keep being wrong and fix it in the back end, because then I get a little spiteful. So I'm going to go ahead and try to face it. And then I just kind of see, like, all right, cool. We see what needs to be done. How can we go about this? And then you come to learn things like, all right, just leave a note or leave a text, and before the text, go ahead and put like a little alert, so that way, can compose yourself and be prepared to receive said criticism. Just work with each other, so that way you can communicate with each other better. Like for me, sending a text, like, I will definitely like read the text. Will I reply? I try. But yeah, it's just, communicate in a way that's beneficial for your partner. And if you can't do it, let it be known that it can't be done. And if there's no compromise, you're just gonna have to expect that the relationship may end. And that's okay. Because the whole point of the relationship is to find a person for you, not find a person to just struggle with. Because why would you be with someone where you are torturing each other? Like, that's just weird. Like, just go ahead and go your separate ways. Go ahead and figure it out with someone else, or go work on yourself, because maybe there's something that is truly detrimental in your dynamics that you can work on yourself. Meet with a therapist, meet with some kind of counselor. Try to like make sure that that you aren't the source of this turmoil. Because if one person is good at communicating, the other one is bad at it, the person that's bad at it might not even realize that they are not good at actually talking about like their boundaries, talking about their needs, their desires. They just expect their partner to eventually get it, which is an unfair burden on the partner that got their own things to work with, as well as communicate to you the things they need. And then on top of it, when they communicate to you, you're not receiving it, therefore you're not following through, and everything just goes to shit. And that's not fair for nobody. So that's just all I want to kind of cover in regards to communication. Didn't want to make this too long of an episode. But yeah, if anything, be sure to send, if you want to, like, honestly, if you just want to appear as a guest and talk about things, you have questions, comments, stories to share, be sure to send an email to hitchhikersguide@enm@gmail.com. I sometimes am on Twitter, hitchhiking to ENM. For Twitter, and Hitchhiker's Guide to ENM for Instagram. Be sure to I'll have the links in the show notes, so that'll be available for you. Also, be sure to check out my other podcast with my co-host Jam, Big Letter Little Letter Podcast, where we talk about kink and BDSM and the like. And yeah, just be sure to tune in again. I will try to get this a little bit more on schedule now that I know my active schedule for for this job I got. But yeah, until next time, travelers, be sure to look both ways before you cross these E&M streets. And I'll catch y'all next time. See ya.